Hello, U9. We're back at it again with some more equations. This time we're looking at cubic equations. Okay, last lesson we looked at quadratic equations. Quadratic equations are equations that have a squared term in them, so x squared or something like that. A cubic equation is anything that has a cube term or something to the power of 3. So let's say x to the power of 3 or y to the power of 3. We consider that a cubic equation. Okay, so before we dive into some equations here, I want us to consider minus 4 cubed. Okay, so minus 4 cubed is the same as minus 4 times minus 4 times minus 4. Okay, so we've got 3 minuses, 3 fours, so 4 times 4 times 4. Let's work out what that is going to be. So minus 4 to the power of 3 gives us minus 64. So you see here, when we have to the power of 3, we actually keep the minus there. This is different to when we're squaring, where if you square a negative number, it becomes positive. When you cube a negative number, it stays negative. Okay, and we could actually think, well, actually, if we're going to do something to the power of 4, then you're going to have 4 minus signs. They're going to cancel out. It's going to become positive. If you were to do something to the power of 5, so a negative number to the power of 5, then you would have 5 negative signs. You would end up with a negative. And you can kind of see a pattern there. Even powers, when you're putting a negative number to the power of an even power, you're going to end up with positive. And if you put a negative to the power of an odd power, you're going to keep that negative. Which means that when we're going backwards and we're square rooting or cube rooting, if we have an even power or the degree that we're rooting by is even, so we're square rooting or we're fourth rooting or we're sixth rooting, then we need to include plus or minus in our equation. And when the degree is odd, so we're cubed rooting or we're fifth rooting or seventh rooting, okay, we don't need to include plus or minus. Okay, so if it's a negative number and we're cube rooting it, it stays negative. If it's a positive number, it stays positive. Okay, so there's a little bit of background before we dive into today's examples. So firstly, we're going to solve the following. X cubed equals 125. We just have to do the opposite operation, that is the cubed root to both sides to find what x is. So x, and if we show this out in full for this first example, we're just cube rooting both sides. Okay, which equals x. And we can just use our calculator to work this out. Now you could do this in your head. It's going to be 5 because 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Let's see if I'm right. We can just go shift cube root 125 and it gives us 5. I was right. Okay, so that was question A. Question B here. Okay, we're going to do the same. We're going to say that x equals the cubed root of minus 27. Again, just go shift and square root and it gives you the cube root. Put in minus 27 and we get minus 3. So you see here the minus stays a minus. We just get an exact number like that. We don't need to put plus and minus. We've just got one answer here. It's minus 3. Okay, let's look at just a few more questions here. So here we've got multiple steps to do. Remember, we're doing reverse BIDMAS again. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of that 8 for this first example here. So let's go x cubed equals 27 on 8. Okay, now we're going to cube root both sides. So we get x equals cube root of 27 over the cube root of 8. Remember, you got to cube root both the top and the bottom if you got a fraction. So that means x equals the cube root of 27 is just 3. the cube root of 8 is just 2, and voila, we have our simplified answer there. Let's look at our last example here. So B, let's get rid of that 5 first. Divide both sides by 5. We get 8 over 5. Okay, for this next part, we're going to cube root both sides. X equals the cube root of 8 over the cube root of 5. Now, the cube root of 8 is 2. However, the cube root of 5 does not simplify. So, again, we call this exact form. And then if we were to round it off, let's put that in our calculator. 2 over the cubed root of 5 gives us 1.17, and let's just round it to 2 decimal places. So again, pay attention to the question. If it says leave an exact form, then leave the cubed root there. If it says round to a certain number of decimal places, let's say it's 2 decimal places, you would do it as I did. If it's at 3 decimal places, you would have to make sure there are more. But that is all for today. Good luck with the example questions. Again, if you have any questions, contact me on Microsoft Teams, and I hope you enjoy the day, and I'll catch you in the next video.